Overture, curtain lights. This is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart. Overture, curtain lights. This is it, we'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.
Hey everybody, I'm here. This is Goose with On With The Show, and I'm pulling again double duty. Again today, my producer could not make it in, so he asked me to see if I could produce my own show, which, if you already know, I produce other people's shows, so it should be pretty easy. But if you see me looking down, it's mostly because I'm trying to get stuff ready and get ready to go for the next segment. But last week we had a lot of entertainment news going on. This week we had a couple of things, and one of the things that was talked about last week was James Gunn. James Gunn, who was fired or removed by Disney, for doing for basically doing any more, I want to say, MCU work. He was slated to direct the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie and do part of, I guess, Infinity Wars. Be a part of that. He's currently working with Netflix on a reboot of Starsky and Hutch, but. The interesting part of this week was the fact that people like Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana have come out and basically say, hey, give this guy a chance, bring him back. He's not such a bad guy now, and we all make mistakes, and please forgive him. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that he is basically, they haven't started shooting yet for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. They were going to start shooting later, I think, later this summer, early into fall, to try to get stuff slated for that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, hey, like Randy said yesterday on the leadoff, this was his baby, and he, I think, desperately wants to finish this film. I think they all want him to finish this film. This is something that I think that comes out of the brain of James Gunn. So I don't know. I think it puts Disney in a pretty bad spot because, hey, they would love to be able to get Guardians of the Galaxy finished, but do they do it in the fashion of bringing James Gunn back? And then even more, this will set up something where people will say, well, you forgave him, so why don't you forgive Roseanne and bring her back for her show and such and so forth. It puts them in a slippery slope. I remember just a few years back where all you really had to do was apologize. You had to come back and just get on a camera, get on a microphone and say, hey, I'm sorry about what I said. I'm not the same person as I was back then. And I think Gunn maybe did it incorrectly. I think if he'd come out publicly and had said these things, it'd be a little different, but he just basically retweeted or tweeted out that, these things happen. I grow up. I was trying to be I was trying to be funny. Nobody's laughing now, and I think that the fact that his I guess you could say castmates lobbying him to bring him back. I think it says. It either says a lot to how the man has changed, or there's a lot riding on the fact that they need him to come back and just direct this, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I don't know where this is going to go. I think it's just an interesting bit of news, but I think that we're still at where we're at right now, where James Gunn is currently off the project, and they're probably looking for another director to take over the reins of this. All right, the second piece of news I saw this week, and I saw this on the Today Show as I woke up, and apparently Netflix has a new TV show coming out, I guess in a few weeks. I want to say about 4 to 8 weeks, called Insatiable. Now I'm going to show you the trailer, and we'll talk about it on the other side of this. Okay?
My name is Patty. High school was a nightmare.
Fatty Patty's huge.
While my classmates were out losing their virginity, I was at home stuffing another hole.
It smells like bacon.
And Every day I wondered, how much more of this can I take? Then it hit me. Now what?
Where's Patty?
Right here.
Look! Patty's hot!
Having my jaw wired shut lost me more than just my summer vacation.
Oh, this is like every great high school movie ever made.
Now, I could be the former fatty who turned into a brain. Or an athlete. Or a princess. No, I'd rather have revenge.
Let them show up. Looking like that. Every time I look at you, you make me wanna come.
Are you insane? I don't know.
Patty is out of control. Balls!
I want to punch her in her bitch face.
I want them to hurt like I hurt. I wanted more. I was insatiable. What can I say? This story is full of some crazy shit. That's what makes it so fun.
You look so good, make me wanna go.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about this. They want Netflix to basically ban this show, to remove this show because it's body shaming, it's bullying, it promotes, eating disorders. I'm going to do something I normally don't do, and that's get a little political on this. And let me just tell you something, everybody. You have pretty much created this monster. The very fact that in at least the last 20 years, it's all about being thin. It's not about being healthy. It's about being thin. People talk about, the obesity numbers, and are you a little obese or are you morbidly obese? And there are TV shows out there. There's a TV show that, my wife likes to watch called My 600-Pound Life, about people who are morbidly obese, and the only chance that they have to live and move on is to have gastric bypass surgery and to lose all the weight. Now, let me just make one thing absolutely clear. I'm all for being healthy. Whatever your size is. But people have got it in their heads that that being thin means you're healthy. Let me tell you something. I've met a lot of thin people that are unhealthy. Society has created this monster in the fact that low-fat foods and non-fat foods, and we need to watch our sugar intake. It has gone out of control, crazy. And I can see why somebody would look at this and go, oh my God, think about the character drastically had to have her jaw wired shut to be thin. And now that she's thin, oh my God, she's hot. And now she can get even with all those people that have bullied her and have wronged her. And this just is so, and people see that, like I said, this promotes body shaming and bullying. And let me also tell you something. I've seen you go on Instagram and some celebrities. Chrissy Teigen, I think this week just posted her body, her post baby body, and she has stretch marks. And oh my gosh, I guess I'll have to live with these from now on. And guess what? People will shame her for doing that. That is crazy. Okay. This is what you get when you promote this type of behavior, this type of culture. When you, you're going to get it. And this is the way comedy works. Comedy works when you take a subject that's really difficult to put out there and talk about, and you make fun of it. This looks like it'll be good, and I know there are a lot of there are a lot of people who are going to continue to boycott this show. My thing is this: I would implore you to watch the show first and then make a comment, because all you've seen is a 2-minute trailer of what the show's about. You don't know anything about it until you've seen the show. And Netflix seems to be the type of a company that likes to draw that line, because they've done 13 Reasons Why about suicide and sexual abuse. They've done another show, I think, To the Bone, which is about anorexia. You know, and anorexia has been going on for not years but decades. Look up Karen Carpenter and find out how she died. She died of anorexia. One of the greatest voices of all time starved herself to death. This is nothing new, and it's a problem that society has created. We have people who consistently troll people on the internet to body shame them, and then all of a sudden you get called out. And oh my God, I don't want to see that. Well, you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing this show on the 10th. And I think a lot of people just need to just slow down and let this happen. Because let me tell you something. If it comes back that nobody watches this show, you won't see a season 2. But this is exactly the kind of show I think that needs to be out there, because it talks about some serious issues in a comical way that could only be done through that. All right, we are going to hit a break a little early. When I come back, I'm going to talk to you about the newest movie that came out this week from Disney, Christopher Robin, plus a few movies I caught on the television this week that I think you should check out if you get a chance. My name's Goose. I'm coming from the beautiful Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame at currentcast.com. Be right back after this.
Patriot Bail Bonds has the best customer service in Bakersfield. Patriot has more 5-star ratings than any bail company in Kern County. Plus, we're fast and affordable. If you run into the law, make Patriot Bail Bonds your first call. That's right, one call, that's all.
If you're in jail, call Patriot Bail.
At the time you were arrested, you were served with a DS-367 temporary driver's license. It's good for 30 days, but if you don't act within 10 days, at the end of those 30 days, your license will be suspended. It's important for your lawyer to contact the DMV for you. Set up a driver's license administrative hearing so that your license does not go into suspension. That's something here at Braemar Law we do for you.
And we're back. I'm Goose Scott with On With The Show here with currentcast.com. We're having a good day. I'm pulling double duty. I'm producing and hosting my own show, so this can be a little weird. You're going to see me looking down a lot, trying to take care of things, but this is what has sometimes happened. My producer couldn't be in today. I hope he's doing well. But let's get on with the show, as I like to say. The first movie I want to talk about is Disney's new film entitled Christopher Robin. Now, Christopher Robin is a great little film where the plot line basically very much parallels the movie Hook. And what happens is that Christopher Robin is starting to grow up, and he can no longer come to the 100-acre woods to play anymore. And in the process, after he leaves, and they have a touching moment with Pooh and Piglet and all the gang, he basically tells Pooh that I will never forget you, and he walks out, and then of course, as Christopher Robin goes to boarding school, one thing in his life happens after another, some tragedy, some great things that happen, some fun stuff that happens, but he gets older and he grows up and he becomes responsible and he becomes an adult and he forgets what it's like to be a kid. And that's the basis of the movie. It's cool. And of course, Pooh wakes up one day, can't find his friends, and feels that the only person that can help him find his friends is Christopher Robin. And he goes looking for him, bring him back, and help him find him. This is a really, really touching film. This is a great family film. And it talks about what happens. And let me tell you something. There are times as an adult I like to be a kid. I think every adult likes to be a kid. But I think what happens is that you find out in, the story is really well done and it's really well told. It stars Ewan McGregor, and he just molds into this person really well. Where now that he's adult, he's serious, and he must be responsible for serious things, and he must do serious things because he has responsibilities. And the problem is that he becomes too much of an adult. And I think Ewan McGregor really, really taps into this lost soul that I almost want to call it. Because the only way that he can come back, and I really feel like this is a little bit of a redemption story. I know that sounds weird because a lot of people don't understand how this could be a redemption story. But what ends up happening is that he finds himself again. And he not only does he find himself again, but he finds him, he brings his daughter and his wife along for the ride. And he realizes that what he did was he lost touch with those that are important to him. And it's a very, very touching film. This is the kind of film that I really, really, truly believe you can take your kids to see. It's a kind of film that you can even I took my two teenagers to see it, and they loved it. They said that it was probably one of the most touching things that can be it's a great family film. It really tugs at your heart. And I think and what's interesting thing is I think Disney put this out toward it's the second half of the summer season because they probably knew that this movie would get just buried in a lot of the other big blockbuster films that have been coming out week after week after week. And I think this movie is very, very, it was just the right time to show this film for this summer. And I think that you will, as an adult, you'll go back and you will learn about, what it's like to be, a child again and to have imagination and to remember those things in those days and those friends that you had left behind in your quest to become an adult. All right, moving on to the next film. Now, I happened to be looking through my channels, and I came across a film I'd seen years ago called Identity. This is a great film because it tells it's a really good horror thriller, and it tells the story about 10 people who end up at a motel in the middle of a violent rainstorm, and one by one, each of them is found dead, and they can't figure out who among the 10 people are killing each other. In the meantime, it also tells this story about a convicted murderer or serial killer that is, on his last appeal is being, said that he's going to be executed, but he's mentally ill. And what happens is that these two stories eventually will merge with each other. And you will understand how it goes. Now, I'm not going to give away the entire plot. But it's well done because here's a movie that is shot in basically overall in one location at this motel in the middle of nowhere, by the way. And it basically, because a lot of filmmakers, I mean, we want to be able to tell a film in different locations. This film is, in one location, and it basically uses that location to the hilt. It stars John Cusack, Ray Liotta, Amanda Plummer, and it is really, really well done. And I think that if you really want to watch a really weird horror thriller, Identity, if you can find it, if you can see it, I would encourage you to watch it, and don't watch it alone, because you really will have to pay attention. It's not a movie that you can get up and leave running and go do something and come back, because you will be lost if you do that. All right, so I really encourage you to watch this Identity. Halloween's coming up, and I think that this will be a good film to put on your list to watch during Halloween time. Another film that I think would be good for Halloween time is The Crazies. Now, this is a remake or a reboot of a film, I believe, that was done in 1973 of the same name. This one is a little bit different because you can almost consider this a zombie film, but it's not really a zombie film. And again, this is basically what happens is that live people in the town begin to act violently and kill one another for no apparent reason other than the fact that they're going crazy. They've come down with a virus. I won't say how they get it, but they come down with a virus, and if you have taken if you're infected with the virus, it'll make you go crazy within 48 hours. And what you have is a sheriff and his wife trying to get out of town with two friends before the military or whoever, CDC or whoever, kills them and quarantines them. And it's shot in Iowa, or actually it takes place, and I don't know if it's shot in Iowa, but it takes place in Iowa, in this little town. And it's a really good film because this one, like Identity, it builds upon itself, and the tension builds and builds and builds. It gets crazier and crazier, hence the name Crazies. It gets more insane, the Crazies, as it keeps moving along. And all these people really, really want to do is just get out of town. They just want to get out of town, and they want to be safe. And the military is trying to stop them. This is a really well-shot film. It's really well told. Like Identity, the story builds upon itself, and it just builds that tension to the point where you're going to find that it just keeps you enraptured. Now, this film would be good for you to put on your list for Halloween also. That's coming up in a couple of months. And these films are also not very long. They're only about maybe 90 minutes long. But they really do a good job of keeping the pace and keeping everything moving and keeping the tension, just building and building. The Crazies this one stars Timothy Olyphant, and I think that you will really enjoy this film because it's a different take on the zombie picture. All right, last but not least, and this was a film that I had been wanting to see for a long time because it is a classic Western. It's called Once Upon a Time in the West. It is Sergio Leone's classic Western. It stars Henry Fonda, Charles Bronson, and Chuck Robards. And this one is really, this is a classic film. This is a classic Western film that I encourage anybody to watch because Leone, he takes his time building this story together. In the opening scene, three guys shove this train, I guess what you call him, a conductor, ticket taker, or whatever, shoves him in a box and basically says, like, stay there, don't go anywhere. And these three guys wait on this train to show up. And the shots go from person to person, close up, medium shot, close up. You watch these guys just wait, and you just sit there and you're like waiting with them. Like, oh my God, what is about to happen? Because these three guys must be waiting on somebody or something this whole time. And then, of course, what happens is the train shows up, they're waiting, they're looking for the person that they're supposed to either meet or kill or whatever, and all the people have left, and the train's still sitting there, and the person they're waiting for doesn't show up, and they're like, well, what are we supposed to do? And then all of a sudden you hear this harmonica playing, and that's when they realize, oh, the guy they're supposed to meet up with is there, and the train pulls away, and there's Charles Bronson playing the harmonica, and which, by the way, is his character's name in the movie, Harmonica, appropriately, and so what you find is that these three guys are waiting for him so that they can kill him, and there's a great standoff and a shootout that happens right in the very beginning of the film. Now this film takes its time to build the story between the three characters of Harmonica and Cheyenne, played by Jason Robards, and the widow McCabe, who I forget what her name is. I think it's Claudia Capone. I think that's what her name is, and Henry Fonda's character. And each one of them, and what makes this movie interesting is not just is it Leone's directing and his shots and everything, because he takes his time. He brings you in when he brings you into the character, and then he takes you out when he needs to take you out. And the music in this film also, it's almost like the music tells the story as well as the film goes along. You find that the music and the soundtrack they tell the story as well as with this movie as well as the acting does. And the interesting part, and I was talking with Jazz McKay out in the hallway when I told him when I was going to review this film, was that it's one of the few films where Henry Fonda plays the villain, plays the bad guy, and he plays him well. It's really hard to see, the guy who was in On Golden Pond, the grandpa from On Golden Pond, and the guy in Grapes of Wrath play this Western villain, and he plays him really well. And each scene upon itself can be something that you could watch as a filmmaker and learn from. Sergio Leone does a great job of telling the story, and if you have a chance to see it, I sit down and watch it. Now, I do want to tell you, it's almost 3 hours long. Myself, personally, I'm so busy. There are times where I watched it in three 3-hour chunks, 3 1-hour chunks, because I couldn't sit and watch the whole film at the time I was watching it. But it's fantastic. They don't make Westerns like this anymore. And I know some people will argue with me and say, well, Tombstone is the greatest Western that ever lived or ever made. And I think Unforgiven is one of the best Westerns ever made. And I think I talked about The Outlaw Josie Wales a few weeks back, which was a great Western. But this is one that really, when it just as far as filmmaking concerns aside, you could watch this film and you could learn a lot from it, how you could take away from it anything you need to as far as a filmmaker's view is concerned. All right, we are coming toward the end of our show. Let me talk to you about some theaters that's coming out this week. I know that tomorrow night here at the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame, they have Aladdin. Tickets are on sale. Go to the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame website. You can get them there. They open tomorrow. It looks like the Summer Repertory Theater at the Empty Space. They have a couple of shows this weekend. One is called Spy School. It opens tonight. And then Alice in Wonderland opens tomorrow. $10 for adults, $5 for children under 18. And I would recommend you probably want to give them a call or go to their website to get tickets, because they sell out pretty fast. As I keep scrolling through here, it looks like the Bakersfield Community Theater is set to open up the Jungle Book. I think that either opens today or next week. I'm not too sure. And then let me see if I can find a couple other ones that open this weekend. This is what happens when you don't quite prepare. But we have a few other shows opening later in the month. Of Mice and Men open up at the Sea Productions at Merle Bay, and later this month we have the Art of Murder. That looks like the Murder Mystery Dinner Theater. That looks like it's at where is it? The Motion Theater. For In Motion Theater, get your tickets now at the Hill. It looks like the Hill House. So anyway, go out and catch a show. There are a lot of really good movies out right now that I recommend you go see. Go catch a live show. Come to the movie theater and come to the theater and check out Aladdin here at the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame with the kids. My name is Goose Scott. This has been On With the Show through the beautiful Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame and kerncast.com. I will see you next week with some more movies to talk to you about. Bye-bye.
Rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart. Overture, curtain lights. This is it. We'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show. This is it.